Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead on Living Off the Land. Wanted to talk to you guys today. 15 years ago, I was told something, and in about 2 weeks it'll come to fruition. What it is I was in central Mississippi 15 years ago hunting, and the place that I was hunting was covered up in white oaks. Now, white oaks is something I don't have here around where I live at, and nowhere around me here has them. What I did was pick some of these acorns up off the ground and put them in my pocket and brought them back home with me. And some of the older guys up there told me, said, "What are you doing?" And I told them, I said, "I'm going to take some of these back home and plant one of them and see if it'll grow." And they told me, said, "You'll never live to see that tree bear acorns in your area." Well, guys, that has come to pass now, because the tree you see right here behind me is a white oak that I planted from an acorn 15 years ago. And as a result, this tree now has acorns on it for the first time since I planted it. I come down here this morning to do some mowing and bush hogging and realized that the acorns was on this tree. Now, this is a white oak. And one of the reasons I wanted the white oak on the property here was for its benefits. I wanted it for wildlife because it is one of the #1 food sources for deer. Where I was hunting at in central Mississippi on some property that we owned up there, it was just loaded with big deer because they come to these acorns all the time, and I had none here on this piece of property, and I wanted them here. So now I have them. So we're going to try to see if in the years to come, if this tree doesn't begin to lure in lots of wildlife. But that's not the only advantage to this tree. This tree has many health advantages to it also. The white oak tree, the acorn of the white oak tree, let me say that, has a lot of health benefits to it. Now, the first one is if you go to boil the water and put acorns in it to boil them, then the water that's left over from the acorns that you boiled can be used to treat burns, rashes, it's topical I'm talking about, inflammation, stuff like that in the body. And this is something that I have discovered from our Native American friends. Some of the early settlers used to do this. So that is one of the benefits, is the boiled water off of the acorns whenever you boil them. Now, the acorns are also loaded with lots of other properties that will literally benefit the body. They are great when eaten. They may be eaten fresh, but now you have to understand that if you eat them fresh, some of them are sweet, some of them are bitter. They have a lot of tannins in them. They're just like any other nut. They're kind of hard for the body to digest fresh. But if you boil them, then you take a lot of the tannins out, and they're very good eaten that way. They're very good for the digestive tract because they are extremely high in fiber. And that is one of the things that we know that helps with diarrhea. It can help with constipation, helps keep the bowels moving regularly throughout the body. So that's one of the health benefits to it. Another one of the health benefits to it is it helps to regulate blood sugar. It prevents diabetes. I guess that's one of the reasons we've never seen a problem with diabetes in our Native American friends in the early years, or the settlers when they first come here, was simply because they used a lot of acorns in their diet. And because it levels out the blood sugar, the glycemic index in the body, it prevents that from happening. It boosts energy in the body because it is loaded with proteins inside it and carbohydrates and stuff like that. It gives the body more of a sustained level of energy so that it doesn't run out. It's not like you don't just fall off the end of the wagon real fast. In other words, with energy, it keeps you going at a steady pace for a considerable amount of time. It can also be used for a substitute for flour. And it's a lot of your recipes that call for regular flour. You can substitute acorn flour once it's made for the same amount of flour as you do with acorn flour in it, on what I've been able to read and understand on that. Another benefit, it actually can be made into coffee. And it's actually a lot more healthy coffee than the coffee you buy at the stores. You just simply boil the acorns when you dry them and you grind them up, and then you parch them. And there's a process, you can go online and look at it, and then you actually put them in the coffee maker and it makes coffee. And I haven't drank it yet, but they talk about that it's actually really good for the body. It also keeps the bones extremely healthy because there's large amounts of minerals in these acorns. It causes the bones to become extremely strong and healthy, so that as you grow older, your bone health continues to increase. It doesn't decrease. That's one of the benefits we see from eating nuts a lot of times. It improves the metabolism in your body simply because they are loaded with vitamins, mainly your B vitamins. Magnesium, manganese, copper, all these kind of vitamins are all in these acorns. They're just loaded with them. Once prepared right, so it makes them extremely nutritious for the body. They promote healing for the body. They're a very rich source of protein. They help to build cell structure in the body so that your body's cells are constantly rebuilding themselves, which gives you an extremely healthy body from the proteins that are inside these nuts. And guys, it's just not only the health benefits to these trees. These trees, the woods in them was used to make axe handles out of, hammer handles out of. The trunks from the ones that grows in the river swamps that are kind of the smaller trees, let's say 6 to 8 inches in diameter, could be bust. And the women would take, and once the men busted them, they would pull strips out of them. They would weave white oak baskets out of them. Things like this, guys. These trees hold an array of different values for the homestead. So if you don't have any white oaks on your homestead, I advise you to get some for your homestead, because really they are probably one of the better trees that you can get. Now, there are many cultivars of this tree. There is the swamp white oak, which is a chestnut white oak. It makes a really big acorn. There's one that's called a cow oak. It's a close relative of it. There's just multiple ones of these trees, guys, that you can get nuts from that are large and are very nutritious for the body. But this is a particular one that I wanted on my homestead here. It was just a plain old southeastern white oak. They grow everywhere from southern Florida all the way to Canada on the eastern half of the United States. So look around you. It's possible. I know if you live in the mountainous areas, these things are in there, because I've been up in the mountains hunting and I always find them there. I've been up in Connecticut and Massachusetts and the New England areas hunting all up in there. I've seen them all up there, so I know they're up there. And they are a tremendous rich source of food for the body, for wildlife. Pigs love them. The pigs will fatten up on them real quick. Can be ground up and fed to other animals. So they're just an asset to the homestead. So guys, if you don't have these trees, get you one as quick as you can, because when it comes to living off the land, some of these trees are extremely beneficial to have on your homestead. So I hope you've enjoyed this series of Living Off the Land, and thank you from Deep South Homestead.